So this week, a researcher from Sky News sent me an article that they published for comment. And I read through the article, couldn't quite believe the numbers behind the headlines. I'm going to read you the headline right now, and that's going to be the topic of conversation for this video right here. The headline says, consumers owe billions to energy firms ahead of tough winter, leading industry figures warn. And when you delve into how much is actually owed, it's mind-boggling to say the least. Consumers across the UK are in £3.2 billion worth of debt to energy firms before this winter's price hikes have even hit, a leading industry figure has told Sky News. Now, we've seen the energy price cap increase over the past week or so. And over the past 2 years, I mean, you tell me whether you feel the same, but it feels almost impossible that 2 years down the line, we're still in this cycle of increasing energy prices. It boggles my mind. And so as we walk into winter 2024, when we've had winter fuel payments stopped for 10 million pensioners, we've got no further government assistance in terms of help for people struggling with their energy costs. Not only are we in £3.2 billion worth of debt, that problem is likely to get even worse because prices have literally just gone up. And over the past couple of years, there's been a concoction of things, right? Energy prices have most definitely been a factor to people struggling financially. We've seen energy prices increase by, £100 to £300 a month. And just as you felt like there was some respite from that, it feels like things are going back up again. Combined onto that, you've had interest rates, inflation, all the things we've covered here on the channel, pushing mortgages up £300, £400, £500. So the combination of those two things, no wonder people are struggling financially. No wonder people are under financial pressure. Then on top of this, to realize that as a nation, we owe £3.2 billion to energy companies is mad. This is a big problem. And this is something that is being discussed or has been discussed this week in Downing Street because they recognize that it is a big problem. It's a big problem for the energy firms because you cannot have £3.2 billion in debt outstanding to the general public, some of which will be in a position that they're never going to be able to repay this money back. And from an economic point of view, it's a bad thing as well because these energy companies, obviously, if you look at them listed on the FTSE 100, the FTSE 250, having that toxic bad debt on the balance sheet is bad from an economic and a share price point of view. So this is a huge, huge concern. Now, obviously, when they meet at number 10, they're looking at this from an economic and business point of view. Me, I don't necessarily care about that. Well, I do, but not as much as I do the consumer impact, right? So what does this do for individuals? Now, it's interesting when you look at this because according to, and let me read this part to you because this is really, really interesting actually. So the chief executive of the trade association, Energy UK, her name is Emma Penchbick, said the number could be even higher than our organization's statistics state. And the colder months could bring even more problems due to the end of customer support schemes brought in through the energy crisis. So that 3.2 billion quid could even be more than that. We just don't know yet. But those are the estimates that we're actually working with. Now, let me be a little controversial. And this will never happen, by the way. Let's be 100% clear, because ultimately, energy companies who do make profits and have made extremely large profits from this whole prices increase thing, they are never, ever, ever going to take on board or write off these debts. It's just not going to happen. They have shareholder responsibilities. And you could be altruistic and think, well, they should. It's not going to happen. But this is according to the End Fuel Poverty Coalition. Energy profits hit £420 billion in recent years as standing charges rise. £420 billion. So bearing in mind, this is across all of the energy companies, you would think £3.2 billion is nothing. But like I said, it's never going to happen because they have shareholder responsibilities. And this is capitalism for you, right? Capitalism is not necessarily there to help the little guy. It is there to run for profit for the benefit of shareholders, which brings me to the topic of investing, because we do talk about investing here on this channel, right? And if you are the kind of person that gets incensed at this idea that energy companies have made a load of profit during this whole crisis, you would be right to feel incensed. But at the same time, if you're only a consumer of these companies, then yes, you're going to be pissed off. However, if you're invested in some of those companies, you would have seen the benefit on that side. So there's always two sides to the story. And just as a kind of step away from this topic, on a side note, I'm running a bit of a workshop in October for first-time investors who want to invest using the Vanguard platform, but find it really, really confusing because there are ETFs in there, there are mutual funds in there are life strategy funds in there, and sometimes it can be really, really hard to understand what it is that you're actually picking. If that is you that I've just described, the workshop is going to run through what you're looking at, how to pick the best ones for you, things to consider. It's going to be jam-packed, and there's going to be time for Q&As as well. So if you want to book onto that, the first 20 tickets are discounted with a 20% early bird ticket discount. Go and grab it right now before it runs out. There will be details in the description down below for you to visit that link and hopefully reserve your place. Now, look, what happens from here? Honestly, I don't know. They're talking about this in number 10. Look, the reality is, and one thing I can definitely almost guarantee, and you'll probably agree with this, there will be no further help. They've just pulled winter fuel payments for pensioners. So they're not going to come up with another scheme that is designed to assist households that are struggling. Now, in the meeting, and I'm just going to read this part here, Emma talked about the fact that they are talking about how they can come up with a scheme to help. And this is what she said. Well, not her, but the Energies Minister said that a framework has been agreed to run a national campaign to reach out to struggling customers, to provide debt advice and support to those who need it, and to offer continued financial support for our most vulnerable. We don't have any details of what that looks like. We don't know what shape or form that's actually going to take. I mean, having a national outreach campaign for people who are struggling, providing debt advice, that's one thing. But you can give all the debt advice that you want if you haven't necessarily offered anything that can actually physically help them with payments. That's problematic. The question I think I want to ask is, who's going to put money on the table here? The government can't afford to do it because we don't have the money to do it. Will the energy companies do it? Some energy companies do have grants that you can apply for if you're really, really struggling, but you have to qualify for it. So beyond that, who's going to put money on the table? I don't see the government doing it. I don't see the energy companies doing it either, unfortunately. And look, on Sky News, I was asked whether I think there is the will in the government and amongst energy companies to do something. I'm going to leave you with my response. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with me. I'm naturally an optimist. You may be a pessimist, but let me know. These are my comments. Thanks for watching this video. Until the next one.
Do you think there is enough will, there is enough impetus? We've seen that meeting, that roundtable in Westminster yesterday. How hopeful are you of positive, tangible outcomes?
Well, look, I'm an optimistic person, and it's easy to look at these things with a pessimistic view, particularly when you start to zoom out and look at the wider economic issues that we have and we're trying to solve at this point in time. I hope that the energy companies and the government will come up with a scheme of work that will practically help people. I would hope that there is the will there, because I don't think, again, as a nation, this is a sustainable problem. I don't think as a nation this is where we want to be. So I hope that there is a will there to help and actually render help in a practical fashion.
Peter, really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.